there's more low moments than there are good ones. But I guess then they kind of cancel out when you break a record or you win a medal. I've kind of mastered that. I have my meltdowns, I have my moment, but then I'm like, all right, get up, let's keep going. I'm a big advocate for inclusion. I love working with children. You have to embrace change
all the time. Otherwise, sport is not for you. It's a challenge every day.
Yes.
Emotionally, physically, mentally.
In all aspects. Like, I got chosen to be here. I worked hard to be here. I deserve to be here. So now, walking into the stadium, seeing the crowd of people, like screaming, the lights, the lanes, the smell, the other athletes, like sensing their anxiety as well. Like, I try to really take it all in, because it really is an incredible experience to be at these major championships. Definitely the Olympics is the dream. Go big or go home.
Yes. I love it. I mean, always before you achieve something, universe is challenging you.
You have to always tell yourself, this is the journey. You know, the highs and the lows, that's the journey. And that journey makes you who you are.
Hi, and welcome to Empowered Beauty. My name is Daria.
Hi, and I'm Nicola, and welcome today to our show. Today's episode, we have a very interesting guest. She's studying to be an educational psychologist, but she's also one of Malta's top female athletes, winning 8 times the 400-meter medal. And today, let me introduce, with no further ado, Janet Richards.
Hi everyone, thank you for having me.
You sent us so long list of your achievements. How should we present you? What is the proper way?
Exactly. I was just like, okay, how do I condense this? And I must say, because I forgot to just say it, you're also training to be able to compete in the Olympics, representing Malta.
Yeah.
Which is, wow. Are you the first female to represent Malta?
No, actually, every edition, either a male or a female goes up. Mostly female.
Okay.
Last edition, Carla Cicluna went up, so there's always a female representative at least.
Okay, fantastic. That's very good to know as well. So we have you live such an interesting life. We have so many questions. Do you want to jump in first?
Yeah, although you're still young, you're just 25, right?
Yes, I'm 25. I don't feel very young anymore, especially in my sport. I'm one of the older girls now. So seeing the younger generation come up, it's really encouraging, because there's so much potential. But I do feel sometimes like, oh, I'm the granny now at 25 years old. But the results, they keep seeming to improve, so I'm not letting anything stop me. I mean, yes, I get aches and pains that I didn't used to feel when I was younger, but I'm embracing the journey, really.
Amazing. Can we start from the very beginning? When you was a young girl, how did you discover your passion or love for sport, and particularly for athletics?
So when I was back in school, even in primary school, physical education lessons were always my favorite. I loved running around and racing my classmates. I didn't take up athletics seriously till I was around 12 years old, and it was very coincidental. I was doing well at school, and my PE teacher, she told me, listen, you should try and take it up seriously. And I was like, no, like, athletics is boring, it's just running. But my friend, she really wanted to start, so she forced me to go with her. And that's when I went down to the track, and I met my coach, Jelko Aras. And the rest is history, basically.
I must interject there that he's also my coach, but totally different levels. I am not trained to go to the Olympics whatsoever. No, he tried.
Intense.
I mean, we've slowed down the pace as I've got older, but I've been training with him for 6 years. And yes, 6 years ago, I used to tell him, I am not one of your athletes. You can't train me like that.
He doesn't differentiate.
No, that's what he tells me. He's like, no, you must train. So we have that in common. But I think that's it. Athletic-wise, you're on a whole different universe to I am.
But he's incredible.
Yes, he is.
Such a big part of my life. He's family now. So
one thing I would love to give a good shout out to him. He takes care of you on so many different levels, emotionally as well as, making you train and giving you the motivation to do so. He also understands, you know, like if you're a woman, there's certain aspects that you emotionally would be different to a male, you know, when you're training. And I think he's an all-rounder in that sense.
Yes,
It makes him a very good coach.
Yeah, he goes out of his way to educate himself about like women's issues, especially related to sport, because we're very different.
Of course.
And since our group now, we have so many women coming in, he's had to really, so that he can adjust and accommodate depending on where we are in our cycle as well, because it does really affect us.
And get the best performance from you
Yes,
as well
yes.
at the same time.
Sometimes we neglect this issue. Just completely forget that we are women.
Yes, especially with male coaches, they usually don't take that into consideration. So I think I'm really lucky to have a coach who's educating himself
That's
about
very
these
true.
things.
Yes.
And I think that probably motivates you to keep on going and try. Maybe if you started when you're young and you kind of have these issues that, you know, like you can't perform your best when you're having your monthlies, you might think, oh, I'm too shy, I'm not going to continue, or I'm not, you know, maybe your coach wouldn't understand, and you just think, well, this is not for me because I just don't feel comfortable.
Sometimes
Yes.
we're
Moody,
like going to
exactly, or sad, and
Yeah.
you don't feel
Yeah.
like it, or you're in pain, or so if you have someone understanding and saying, okay, today we'll go a bit easier, or cheer up, it's okay,
Yes.
give you a little tap on the back, and
Yes,
that kind
yes.
of.
I mean, I'm very open about it because I know that it does affect me, especially in my training, or if, for example, my period coincides with an important competition. It's very unlucky, but we try to tackle it in that way. When with Jericho, he even goes as far as, oh, you can have a child, but then you can come back. We can work around it. I'm like, okay, relax. But even the fact that he's ready to learn more about these things, I mean, I'm very, very lucky.
I'm very open-minded. I mean,
Yes.
I don't think many coaches think like that,
No,
to be
no.
honest. It's not something I would have feared. You know, they say, oh, go and have a child, come back.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's a realist because he was an athlete himself for many years.
Yeah.
So I think he's a realist that you have to have a life, you
Is
know, outside of being an athlete. And that includes having a family and
Yes, yes.
so it's very good.
It's very much learn as you go, though. I feel like in the beginning of my career, he was a lot stricter. But then when he was like, okay, this is not working, like they need a life outside of track. So he does encourage me to do things outside of track. For example, I'm a big Beyonce fan, like crazy Beyonce fan. And there was a Renaissance tour last summer. And the concert that I could go to was 2 days before national championships. And I asked him, I was like, coach, please. He was like, you know what? Go. You work hard, then you come back and you compete. And that's what I did. And I love him for it because I know that if I hadn't gone, I would have
Probably resented a bit.
I would have resented the sport then. So it's all about balance, really. I mean, that was crazy. I won't do it again. But it was so worth it. So worth it.
Did you have a moment when you was about to give up, or
All the time.
was it that?
All the time. I mean, what they don't tell you about track. I mean, you see like all the highlights and all the good moments, but there's more bad than good. There's more low moments than there are good ones. But I guess then they kind of cancel out when you break a record or you win a medal. But
What would be those low moments, if you don't mind sharing with us?
for example, when you're not hitting target times in training, or like just life gets stressful and track kind of seems extra in a way. Injuries, whenever I'm injured personally, like I go into a really dark place because I start telling myself, I'm not gonna get better, I'm stuck like this, I'm not gonna be able to do what I used to do before the injury. So psychologically it's a very, very demanding sport, especially at the level at which I do it, because it's not my hobby, this is my career. So there's a lot of pressure that goes into it.
What helps you to stay on track?
I think discipline, really. I don't think there's one person who can like tell me snap out of it and keep going, because I'll just tell them, you know, piss off. You know?
Walk a day in my shoes. And
Yes.
then let's see how well you cope.
But You know, I've learned that, yes, I have meltdowns. There are times where I just burst into tears, but I don't feel like that kind of makes me weak. I think what
Makes you human. I think.
exactly, I think it's okay to cry. It's okay to kind of have anxiety and if it will get overwhelming, but then you just have to, okay, stop there and keep going. And I feel like I've kind of mastered that. I have my meltdowns, I have my moment, but then I'm like, all right, get up, let's keep going. And I feel like that's worked for me till now. And hopefully we keep going and I don't just crash and burn. But yes, it does get.
It sounds
Very
like you
sad.
live on a permanent roller coaster.
Yes.
So I also wanted to highlight as well, besides your full-time career as an athlete, you're also studying to be an educational psychologist.
Yes.
How does that sort of fit into your life as being an athlete as well? Like, did you always want to do it? Is it something that, besides you love it, being an athlete, how did that other part of you want to do this as well?
So I've always loved school. I've always loved learning and education. From a very young age, like I saw my mom. My mom is my biggest role model, and she worked in education as well. So she would take me a lot to work. Like from when I was very young, like I basically grew up in an educational setting and in an educational environment. So it was no surprise to her when I told her, "Oh, I think I want to go into education." Because when you have psychology, you have different streams. And when I tell people that I study psychology, they just assume that I want to go into sports psychology. So like, no, I'm really not interested in that. I want to go into education because I'm a big advocate for inclusion. I love working with children, especially with children on the spectrum and helping children with learning disabilities, because I believe that everyone deserves the chance to learn, and even if there are obstacles, like everyone deserves to reach their potential, regardless of the adaptations that need to be made. So that's kind of the career choice that I made. It's a very difficult one because to become a psychologist in Malta is very, very difficult. But I was lucky enough to get accepted into the course, and I start this week, actually.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Good luck.
Thank you.
So you chose two professions that are very challenging.
I tend to
seems.
do that. Yeah,
You like a challenge. We
I
can
do.
safely say you like a challenge.
I do.
But I think in sport you can't be any kind of other personality. You have to embrace change
Yes.
all the time.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
true.
sport is not for you. It's a challenge
Exactly.
every day,
Yes.
emotionally, physically, mentally, in all aspects, I guess.
Very true.
Yes. And I feel like being an athlete, it helped me with discipline and time management, which then transfers into studying and university as well, because I try not to waste time and I always know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing every hour. And that's how I managed basically to balance both.
The fact we were just mentioning before that you were telling us that you train in the morning and in the evening. So obviously you really have to have good time management skills, especially if now you're starting university. How do you like cope energy wise? Do you ever feel like, oh my God, this is overwhelming,
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. But I made a decision early on that when it comes to my academic career and my sporting career, I don't want one to surpass the other. I want to prioritize both equally, so I don't want to feel as though I'm giving more to university more than I am to my training. So I've been doing this for some years now, so I kind of figured it out.
You found your balance.
Yes, I did. Until now it's going well.
I guess it was not easy because I used to do rhythmic gymnastic and I had a school and I had to choose at the age of 10, 11 because I could not cope with both.
It's not easy.
It was too much.
It's not, you need support, because you can say it's very easy to say that, oh, I want to prioritize both, I want a dual career, but unless you get external support, it's not gonna happen. So I got support from my family and I got support from the government as well, who helped me, especially leading up to the games. So that's basically how I managed.
And what sacrifice, because obviously you've been training pretty much since you've been 12 years old, and now you're 25. Like, what sacrifices have you had to make along the way? Because your schedule sounds like it's always been very tight-knit.
Yes.
So obviously, being a teenager, the normal things that teenagers would do, traveling, partying, like, do you feel that you had to make certain sacrifices, or for you it was just a no-brainer, sort of, you wanted this road and there was like tunnel vision?
I mean, now it's a no-brainer, but back when I was 16, 17 and my friends would go out, I had to learn the value of saying no, really. No to drinking, no to staying up late, no to going out when I know I have training the next morning. And it wasn't easy. I did lose a lot of friends because of that, because they just didn't get it.
Of course.
They didn't get that it's not just a hobby. This is my lifestyle, this is my career, and I have goals to reach. So yes, I did make a lot of sacrifices, even something small like diet, or making sure I sleep a certain amount of hours. It takes discipline. I mean, now it's just become my lifestyle, so it's automatic that I sleep at 10 or that I try to eat healthy. But back then, in your influential years, really, it was difficult. It was very difficult.
And there wasn't, I don't think, as many role models then as there are now. I mean, even though we're talking about a few years ago, I think now, I don't know, I see this generation are more disciplined if they have a certain goal, even from 12, 13, than we were even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think it must have been extra harder for you.
Yes.
Probably, because there's no one to sort of say, oh, she wants to aspire to be like this athlete that they would know locally, maybe. Whereas I think you've probably become that role model.
Yeah.
But did you have actually a role model?
Maltese athletes, yes, I did look up to quite a few. There was Diane Bort at the time, she was still running, and Rebecca Camilleri, now she's Guerrieri. Just these incredible women who were just paving the way, really. I mean, nowadays, I think social media really helps, because you just follow your favorite athletes, your even international athletes, and you just aspire to be like them, really. I mean, for us, like, I'm going to speak about myself, I realize that now I carry this responsibility for the younger generation. It's not, sometimes I do feel the pressure that I need to act a certain way, because there's always little eyes looking at me and looking up to me, which is great, I'm really flattered, but it's not really something I asked for. So you do kind of feel that pressure, but I take it on and I try to be a good role model to the athletes coming up.
But I think maybe your educational psychology would help with that, because you're centering yourself around younger people anyway, as you obviously get older. So it will be, even with the athletic world, and if you become an educational teacher.
Yeah.
So without you wanting to or aspiring to, you've become a role model in either careers.
Exactly.
Funny enough.
That's true.
So that's quite interesting. But I think it's amazing how someone is so disciplined and from such a young age to be so focused, because it is really hard to be like that consistently every single day. Like, and in fact, there's something, I think it's on your Instagram, that we both laughed when we read it, and you're like, yay, it's the weekend. It was like Friday. And I said, but I'm sure she's training Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon. So like, yay, it's the weekend, but not in the same context that we would think, yay, it's the weekend, let's go and have a glass of Prosecco.
Yes,
so
definitely.
In your mindset, what do you mean, like, yay, it's the weekend, or you just want to put out positive vibes?
Friday mood?
I mean, I guess I'm done with school, done with work. Yes, I still have 2 sessions on the Saturday, but at least Sunday I just get
No, exactly.
Is it just 2 sessions?
It's so like inherent in her mind that it's just like you don't think about it.
For an athlete, the weekend is one day. It's a Sunday for us. And on Sunday, I literally just do nothing. Like, I don't go out. I just stay in bed and do nothing, because I know I need to repeat my week all over again.
Yes.
And knowing my coach, he has something even worse planned. So
Yeah, he's a bit mean. He has a bit of a mean streak. I can contend to that.
So I definitely need to recharge. That's my weekend, just getting ready for whatever there's in store the next week.
Yes, I think it's true. I think we speak to a lot of people and they all mention that they like one day a week. It's a recharge day. And I think it's important for everyone. You know, you can't be 7 days a week on the go and then start the week still revved up from the last week. So
Yes.
it's good that you're happy to give yourself, like, I don't care if it's a pajama day, you know,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
what I need.
I mean, rest and recovery is just as important as going to the track and killing yourself running. Like, for example, for my coach, he says that rest sometimes is even more important. So yes, we do prioritize that, because unless you rest your body and you recover, you're not going to perform well anyway. So it's useless, really.
But I always have this back thought, but I'm being lazy. I'm not being productive. For me, it's very difficult just to do nothing. It's very
For
difficult.
one day.
Even for one day.
No, I like a rest day. I think I was brought up to think that way as well. My mom is very much sort of, she likes one day a week when we were growing up, that you kind of have a late morning, or even if you don't take the whole day. I think it's important to recuperate
Yes.
physically and mentally.
I was raised the same way. My mom can't see me in bed because she'll start screaming. But ever since I became an athlete, I don't care anymore. Like, I need a day where I just don't think about track and don't think about anything, don't see any people, and just really rest. And it really helps me mentally as
But
well.
what do you do? You would sleep or read or watch films or go out for
yes.
a walk?
Like,
or
if I go out, for example, I just try not to go around people because it really, really drains me. But yes, otherwise I just stay home, either with my boyfriend or with my family.
we forgot about boyfriend.
No.
We were focusing on career,
forgot
study. There is a boyfriend.
Yeah, he needs his time as well. I'm
He's
sure.
part of the schedule, yes.
Okay, for him it's Sunday.
Exactly. So he looks forward to Sunday where he gets you all to himself.
Yeah, but he's also an athlete, so he gets it.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
So he knows. I think if you've got such a crazy schedule, you need someone like-minded or living similar lifestyle.
Yes, for sure.
It just makes it more long-term realistic that you're both going to survive the relationship because you're both on the same page.
Exactly, yes. I mean, it's a huge blessing, and I can't imagine myself being with someone who's not into sport, because he understands when I need to go to training camp for 2 weeks, he doesn't question it. Or, for example, if I tell him, I don't feel like going for training today, he tells me, no, you have to go. So we really bounce off each other and we support each other.
But I think that's very important.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, he's great.
Aww. She's in love.
It's important for every woman.
Yes. In fact, we say, like,
When you have peace of mind that at home everything is good, you're happy as a woman, you can perform other duties.
exactly.
And this aspect of life is not settled.
You're
all
never
the time.
100%
Your thoughts are
happy.
there.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not enough, I have to make my effort to go out, to meet someone, etc. etc.
I mean, I'm not, I don't think, because I've been single, I've been married, I've been with my husband now nearly 20 years. We've been married for 14 years. So, but before that, I've had moments where you're single, and it's not necessarily you need someone in your life. It just makes you feel more happier.
fulfilled,
Yeah, like you're
yes.
sharing the days, the ins and outs of the struggles of life and happiness. You know, if something good happens, you want to call them. If something bad happens, you want to call
Exactly.
them. They're your one, person that you can anchor yourself. You know, I mean, obviously you have friends to do that, but it's different having a partner. And I think if you have such a stressful, career, it's nice that you just have someone to give you a back massage maybe when you go home.
Yes.
Or you can just vent on them, or,
Yes, he experiences a lot of my meltdowns. But yeah, thank God for him, really.
How would you prepare yourself mentally before competition or championship? What would you do? What kind of, activities you're meditating or you're just how would it look like besides obviously being physically prepared, because more or less everyone goes to competition with similar physical state.
Yes.
All of you very well prepared and
Yes.
dedicated their life to training. What's happening in mental aspect, emotional aspect?
So leading up to, for example, a championship, if the goal is to run a good time or even try to medal, we're working really hard all year round. So what I like to tell myself, for example, the day or two leading up to the race, the competition, is that the work is done. Like I put in all the work, all the sacrifice, all the dedication that I needed to. I'm well prepared, my body's prepared. So now all that's left to do is for me to get on the starting line and to just execute my race. I don't like to put any kind of pressure on myself. I don't like to say, for example, I need to run this time, because I've done it before and I never met the time. But what I see that works for me is to visualize myself running the race. So in my mind, I'm doing exactly what my coach and I planned. And if I'm able to see myself do it, generally I'm able to do it in real life, physically. But I think before, I would feel the pressure and I would get really stressed before a race. But now with experience, I know that yes, there's going to be good races, there's going to be bad ones, but you need to learn from the bad ones. They're actually sometimes even more valuable, because then when you get to the next one, you make those corrections. So mentally, I think that's how I kind of go around it, competition.
You don't put any conditions on yourself, from what I'm hearing, which is very...
Expectations.
No.
Yeah, which is very good, because you've already eliminated certain aspects of stress. And even if you don't reach the target that you wanted, you're not setting yourself up to punish yourself, kind of, so to speak. So it's good. You just say, I went, I did my best, and that was good enough.
And I think having that right to commit a mistake and then learn from it.
Exactly.
That reduces a lot of tension.
Yes, it's a really good mindset, which I didn't think. I always thought athletes would be like, no, I've got this target, I've got to reach that target. But it's interesting to know that you don't, and I think that...
No, I think she still has this target. She's visualizing that she's going to reach it, but kind of not
with numbers.
Exactly.
Yes, I don't like to think about numbers. For example, I used to be at these major championships, and they would be incredible championships, but I would be so focused on the time that I want to do, and I would stress myself about my performance, that sometimes I would forget, like, I'm at the European Championships right now. Like, I got chosen to be here. I worked hard to be here. I deserve to be here. But sometimes, like, you just forget. You're so consumed by, I need to perform and I need to perform well, that you forget where you are.
You're not living in the moment.
No. And sometimes it used to take me actually seeing a video of the race to remember what I did. Because I would run and I would completely forget what would have happened. So now, walking into the stadium, seeing the crowd of people, like, screaming, the lights, the lanes, the smell, the other athletes, like, sensing their anxiety as well. Like, I try to really take it all in, because it really is an incredible experience to be at these major championships.
That probably is, with your maturity, helps you with that.
Yes.
I think as you get older, you start to filter.
Yes.
So that's for your advantage, I'm seeing it.
Yes, it does take experience. When I was younger, I would be a nervous wreck. Really.
So there's nothing, you can't probably take on any of those things that you've just mentioned, because it would probably have created more pressure.
Exactly.
That's such a big takeaway.
Yeah, totally, it's true.
To observe everything, to be present, and to know that you deserve to be there.
Exactly.
I really like it.
I think we're going to have to make little notes. And because you can apply this to any part of your life, really.
Yes.
So it's really interesting.
It's funny that now I'm reading a book and it highlights importance of being now. Because sometimes we are living in the past and thinking what we could have done differently, what kind of mistake we committed, etc. Or in the future, what kind of goals we have. and we are all the time shifted,
And not living in the present.
not living in the
and not
present.
enjoying what we have in the present as well. Because you're living now, this second,
Yes.
not in the future and not in the past.
That's something really difficult in sport as well. For example, when you run a time and break a record, you're happy for what? An hour and half a day? Because the next day you're like, okay, now I want to run faster. I want to break
New
it
goal.
again. So yes, it's always good to have goals and to never be satisfied, I guess. But you did that. Like, take a moment to really appreciate what you would have just done. And in sport, it's very difficult. It is very difficult. Because, for example, after I ran the 52-37 at the team championships, it was my first time going under 53. And one of the first comments that someone told me was, when are you going to run under 52? And I was like, oh.
Let me breathe.
I was like, I just did this.
Yes.
Let me be happy.
Exactly.
But then it's the mindset. Now I want to go under 52. So, you know,
You had a spark of joy for like a second.
a second. And then you're like, no, I need to run faster. So, yeah. Sometimes it's not as easy to live in the moment when it comes to sport.
When it's so competitive.
Yes.
In fact, you had like, when we were talking, you had questions because Daria likes to run, and I've never been such an avid runner. I don't know, I just haven't like found the joy in it. And what are the myths about running? Because there's also like it can hinder your knees.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure on your knees. You cannot run when you have extra weight, or running is leading to fat reduction and to weight reduction. Can you give us exactly an idea?
I mean, I
What
wouldn't
is running
call
about?
myself like a scientist or anything, but
From
I
your
feel like-
experience, obviously.
I feel like running is for everyone. Like, you don't need to be a certain weight to do it. I'm going to speak about athletics because there's this conception that athletics is just running, but it's so much more than that. You've got jumping and you've got throwing, and even within running itself, you've got short distance, long distance. So, for example, when I tell my friends that I train for 2 hours a day, they're like, what, you just run for 2 hours every day? Like, no, because you have weight training. I mean, there's so much that goes into it, and it's so complex and intricate that it's not just running. And even for someone who wants to take it up just as a hobby and not as a career, and there's so many variations you can do. It doesn't need to be just running on the road for an hour and that's it. I mean, running is supposed to bring people together, so that's why there's a running community, and you can just go out whenever, even just as a stress reliever, really. I think,
I can relate to it.
Yeah.
It really helps to reduce stress.
exactly, just
After
run
you
it out.
After I run even 3 kilometers, sometimes I go 5 and 7.
Mhm.
I come home and I couldn't think about any worries or problems which I had before. Like, I'm drained.
Exactly.
That's all.
Yeah, the runner's high is very real, I feel. Yeah.
So you would advise and encourage people to run and build community, which is an interesting point. I love
Yes.
running just myself. And once I was approached by a man, he stopped me. Probably he was a foreigner or just arrived to Malta, and he asked me, do you have anyone? Like, where can I join running community? I thought, I'm a single runner. And I'm enjoying being single
Uh-huh.
or being alone when I'm running.
And that's the beauty of it, really. You can do it by yourself or in groups, as whatever feels right.
Yeah, I would have never thought there's running clubs.
There are actually. I think on Facebook, that's what I told that person who approached me, that you can find on Facebook. And many sport shops or like Nike, Reebok, or
Yes,
they provide running.
So it's good for our
instructor
viewers to
and
know if they wanted to
community.
start, maybe if you're not an avid runner or you think, oh, it's a bit lonely or boring or unmotivating. Because if you join in a group, you have
You
an
motivate each
incentive.
other,
Exactly.
Yes.
But maybe can you give any advice what kind of precautions people can take so make sure that they don't have injuries, they do it in a more or less proper way?
What I would say is not to do too much too soon. So kind of pace yourself. If, for example, you're new to running, not to do 5K immediately, kind of build up to it. Because some people, they just get eager and overexcited, they do too much and then they get injured.
And they want to run marathon immediately.
Exactly, and then you get discouraged when you get an injury. So definitely that. Even safety issues. For example, if you run early in the morning or late at night, always to wear something reflective, because unfortunately there have been incidents.
Very good point.
So we definitely need to take those precautions as well.
Like having proper shoes to avoid
Yes, definitely.
injuries as
And
well.
if you're running on the road, be careful of the potholes. We are in Malta,
Yeah,
so
which is like every other step.
so there are plenty. So just really be aware, really.
Good point.
Good advice. Yeah. And I like this element of increasing your distance or time when you run. Yeah,
Yes, yes. I mean,
do it.
it's good to
Step by
challenge
step.
yourself, but
No, there's so many
An
apps as
increment
well that you can.
as well.
That gives you a whole target, I think. It gives you a whole plan of how you can build up every day
Yes, there are
and
plenty.
increase as well.
Yes.
Also, we were interested to know, who are your biggest influences in your life and role models? Like if there's someone, be it personally, family, or athletes, or who would you say, if you had one, or many different influences?
So my biggest one is my mother. She is one of the strongest people I know. She raised me and my two sisters by herself. And she had an incredible career. She was the headmistress of the school she taught at. And she did her master's when we were still very young, so she juggled raising us, but she didn't give up on her education. She kept studying. And even now, for example, when I tell her that I want to keep studying, she tells me, all right, but what about your training? Make sure that you're doing both. So even though she doesn't come from a sporting background, she still sees my potential and she still wants me to succeed in both. So, for example, when I had my O-levels or my A-levels or any kind of exam, she would tell me, don't miss training. Study before, but then go for training. So she unfortunately, you do find a lot of parents
Yes.
who tell their kids during exams, all right, that's it, you're going to lock
Exactly.
yourself up and you're going to study. But my mom was the complete opposite. She saw the value in exercise and training, especially during exams, and she trusted me. She trusted that I had my head on straight and that I could do well in both. So I literally owe her everything.
That's really nice that you had such great support.
Yes.
I think it makes a world of a difference.
Oh yes. I wouldn't have succeeded in athletics if it wasn't for her support, really.
I think it shows the importance of environment. What kind of
Yes.
people we are surrounding
The
ourselves.
context.
Parents, coaches, friends, I don't know, educators.
The context is very important. We're not just one person. It depends on where you're from, who you're dealing with, family as well. Especially if you start out sport very young. And the parents are very influential, because if they decide not to drive you to the track, you're not going to go for training.
Exactly.
So, yes, and unfortunately we see that a lot. For example, during exams, the track is just empty because the students are not allowed to train. And it's very, very unfortunate.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know that you need to focus on study right
Yes.
now. Then there will be time
Unfortunately,
for sports.
it's like that. It's like that. The parents are scared that training is a waste of time and that the children won't do well.
I think they have the mindset, especially here in Malta, that we don't have, like, you don't think that, oh, I send them to athletics, they're going to be an athlete. You know, they don't even have that mindset. Whereas maybe abroad, they would say, oh, they might be an athlete. You know, so they say, we're sending them so they'll be healthy, but not with the mindset that they're going to be an athlete. Where then, if you have that mindset, you're not going to be as dedicated. That's if you have a potential.
Like it's
to
a
be-
hobby.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I was born in Russia and I was doing rhythmic gymnastic, and rhythmic gymnastic school there is very strong. So even though I was one of the thousands of girls, still I wanted to become an Olympic champion. I went and I trained having that in mind. Okay, I didn't choose that career, but already since a very early age, you're preparing to be something bigger.
Wow.
So, like you have this Olympic mindset, you have this goal. Even though that you are friends with these girls with whom you are training, you know that you are competing. In the end of the day, you will be.
But you've just really highlighted the environment and the culture that you're brought up in, because your culture is try to be the best that you can.
Yes,
you know,
have
go
millions.
for it. Where
You
I
have
think
to prove yourself.
I think a more European, Mediterranean culture is more education. Be a lawyer, doctor, or an architect. Those are the three, highlight. Athlete is not the number one, and I think it's changing slowly, but it's true. I think
With you
We're
pioneering,
still
maybe.
we're still
very
very far
behind.
off.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yes. We are taking a few steps, but even, for example, when it comes to the university, the students who are athletes, they don't get support from the university, which is so unfortunate. For example, we had the games of the small states, they were in Malta. They were home games, so it was a really big deal. But our students who were athletes, who were taking part in these games, they were struggling to fix their examination timetable. The university wasn't allowing them to change the time or the date.
Adding extra pressure.
It's incredible.
For such a great opportunity.
Exactly.
course.
I mean, so you don't get support. So it very much depends on the institution in that country, and unfortunately we're very, very behind. We like to say that we're making progress, but
Not enough.
not enough.
Not quick enough.
Not enough.
That's a pity, because that's off-putting as well. Because if you kind of, even if your mindset is that, and your parents say yes, we encourage you, but then your society that you're living in doesn't encourage you. There's a point that you just think, what am I doing this for?
Exactly.
Which is a pity, because we all need sports in our lives, and besides. Maybe even if you don't want to take it to go to the Olympics, it does give you a really good mindset for any other aspect in life. I mean,
Exactly.
the things that you mentioned, there's so many lessons for everything.
Ex-sportsman.
Yeah.
Sports is once and forever, I think.
Exactly.
It really creates or builds your character.
And lots of values which you use eventually at the workplace as well, and in your life in general. So it is such a huge investment, which unfortunately is overlooked in this country. But oh well.
But how are you seeing your career? You would like to go more into sport or more into education, or are you still hoping to combine them both?
I mean,
When
I
things
think
get serious, where would you be?
I think the older I get, my priorities change a bit. I mean, yes, I'm 25 years old, so I'm kind of one of the older athletes now. But I do plan to keep running for as long as I can.
Sorry, is there a time limit that you reach a certain age and they say, well, sorry, you're a bit too old to compete now?
No, I mean, you can keep on competing for as long as you like, but generally a woman's career is shorter biologically than male athletes.
And what would that be? What's the time frame? What
I mean,
age?
there are athletes who keep going till they're 35, I'm talking about sprinters, maybe even 35 years old, but they have a whole team of people around them. So even if they feel the smallest thing, someone just is right on them for treatment, which in Malta we don't have. But I sometimes need to remind myself that I'm in this sport not to compete, and not for the medals and not for the records. I'm in it because running keeps me sane. And there were times where I feel like it kept me alive. So even if I do continue, maybe I will stop competing, but I don't see myself. Like, as long as I can still move, I'm able to move, I don't see myself stopping running completely. Maybe I will take a step back so that I can maybe flourish in my academic career. but it will always be a part of my life.
Do you have certain goals you want to reach before you kind of tell yourself, I'm ready to take a step back?
Yes, I mean, definitely the Olympics is the dream. I feel like it's every athlete's goal, and if it's not, then what are you doing? Really?
Go big or go home.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
I love it.
I mean, you don't put your body through what we put it through just to say, oh, I'm doing this for fun. No, like, I want to go to the Olympics. I'm working hard. It's not easy. In Malta, it's not easy because one person goes, and I'm competing against incredible athletes. So I definitely never say like, oh, I definitely have a chance, because everyone starts from zero. It's Olympic year this year, so you start training and you feel that buzz of excitement and everything you do. If, for example, you have the last rep and you don't feel like doing it, oh, but I want to go to the Olympics, I have to do it.
You have an extra incentive this year.
Exactly. It's been my goal for some time now, and I've always fallen a bit short. So, but I've come to peace with that. Yes, going to the Olympics would be incredible, but I'm very happy with my career so far, what I've managed to do and what I've managed to achieve. So basically, the main goal is to remain healthy for as long as I can.
Amazing. We wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, but we're not saying bye, because I want to ask what is the biggest achievement so far,
I think
so we can be proud
uh-huh.
of you as well.
I think my biggest achievement is the 400-meter national record. It was previously Tanya Blake's. It was 54:29, and I managed to bring it down to 52:37. And it's not just because of the numbers, but it's just something that I never thought that I had in me. I always thought, okay, maybe 54 low, 53 high, I could do. But when I saw the clock and it said 52 seconds, I was just like all the hard work, all the dedication, all the sacrifices came down to that moment. And it was not the first time, but one of the few times where I was genuinely really, really proud of myself. So that moment will always be really special.
But do you remember what exactly was leading to this achievement? What helped you to break the record?
Just like I said, just staying relaxed, putting zero expectations on myself, because when you're targeting such a big competition, everything seems to go wrong in the weeks leading up to it. Like, I got sick before, I got a little bit injured, so just lots of doubts start to come in your mind. So you need to really think, the work is done, I've been training for X amount of years, I know what to do. Just need to go out and do it, and that's what I did. And
you excelled yourself.
I was very, very surprised, but happily surprised.
It's like always, before you achieve something,
Challenge.
universe is challenging you. Are you good enough? Are you committed enough?
Are you mentally strong enough, as well as,
Yes, and they don't stop coming. These challenges, they don't stop coming.
But that's the journey of life. I mean, I can say at my age now, I've gone through different times in my life and different situations, and you have to always tell yourself, this is the journey. The highs and the lows, that's the journey, and that journey makes you who you are. The strong person, the motivated person, even though you've had negative times, down times that you just didn't want to get out of bed and face the world, but the fact that you kind of get up and do it, that's what makes you the powerhouse that you are, and
Exactly.
I think I can't wait to know what's going to be happening in the next few months. Really, it's exciting.
And actually, yes, it's a good question. What's going to happen? How selection for Olympic Games is happening?
So, like I said, they only choose one person, so I'm competing with literally all the athletes in Malta.
Do they do like a top 10, top 5? And
so
then
it's a point system. So you run the performance, and according to the time you get an allocated number of points. So the goal is to have an incredible performance and score the highest amount of points.
Through lots of competitions and...
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we need to compete, and we need to compete early because the Olympics are coming early this year.
When are they exactly?
So they're in August, but
Okay.
there's also the European Championships in July, and you need to qualify in May, so it's a whole...
Okay, so
Yes.
you are like laser
Busy
focused at the
winter,
moment.
yes,
So
yes.
every competition or every one you do
Is
It
is
all
important.
counts, yes,
it's
it's
one
all-
step closer.
Yes, one step closer. Yeah,
Amazing,
Sounds
eh?
amazing.
yeah.
So lots of sleep,
Lots of sleep.
lots of good protein to give you energy.
Yes, yes. We'll see, really.
Well, we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
And I think it's been so inspiring to hear your journey. You're only 25. I mean, you kept mentioning that, like, I'm getting old now. You're only 25. You're, you know, a baby still. So you really have so much.
Have many years of experience. Now
Yes.
you can use it.
Yes, exactly. We're very happy that we had you here today.
Thank you for having me. Thank
And
you.
we're happy to share the story as well with you. If you like what you've watched, keep on watching, like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.
See you soon.